This shouldn't be possible. The Queen is Camilla. She wears the crown, rides in carriages, and sits with the monarch at all state occasions. However, a lady who would never be queen, had no place in the succession, and had nothing to gain, stood in a corridor in Buckingham Palace, listened to Camilla plead for one small favor, and refused. Princess Anne was silent. She needn't. She discovered that her spouse had taken that decision without giving her a chance to stop it. Catherine eventually looked at Anne, who responded with a little motion. Her left hand held the red folder, household stationery for private announcements that never reach the news. It contains a formal written order outlining the new arrangement. One Camilla unseen page cut and folded behind everything else. She inquired about it. She was ignored by Anne. Things is the portion I keep returning to because it shows how far things went beyond familial friction. Camilla didn't fear rejection. Standing in the corridor, she had absorbed that. She feared the page. She feared what was on it more than anything else that morning, and she had no means to find out. Complete silence fell over the corridor. Camilla finally grasped what had been true for weeks in those few seconds, standing there with no response. An in-law sister did not support suddenly. It was enforced. Someone had prepared the case, gathered the documentation, got the king's signature, and then picked Anne as the only family member strong enough to finish it. Camilla had never lost a corridor debate. She lost a campaign she never knew about. I promised you what Anne did next in front of 2 aides and 1 camera nobody had seen. I will keep it longer, because if I show it to you now, it is a woman strolling down a hallway, and you will not comprehend why a country went crazy about it. You must know what all 3 women carried that morning to comprehend that. To understand why Anne picked Catherine over Camilla without hesitation, you must know what all 3 women carried that morning. Because behind the titles, ceremonies, and precise palace language were 3 women facing 3 separate futures. Camilla feared being pushed to the edge of a reign she had fought for decades. Catherine didn't want to represent another woman's defeat. Anne's hardest dilemma was whether to protect her family's tranquility or the crown's future from a crack she couldn't ignore for another week. I'll take them all, because nothing makes sense otherwise. Anne first, because she is often misconstrued and helped finish this narrative instead of a rumor. Applause has never defined her in their household. Above 50 years of service, above comfort. Hundreds of events annually. Weather and organizations aren't photographed. She has no desire for the monarchy, and she declined regal titles for her children. That makes her the only person in the building who can enforce this decision. No version of this narrative gives Anne anything. Anne values the crown, not the guy wearing it. She believed one private jealousy may ruin public faith and William's order. Once she determined, she never changed her mind. Catherine carried something else. Camilla's trepidation grew with each new responsibility, even if years of disciplined public duty had equipped her to serve a future king. In every room, she felt it. She informed William, who later wrote it down, that she did not want another woman to denigrate her name. Since she married into a family that had done that, she meant it. Her entire marriage has been judged against a 1997 deceased woman. Compared in every photo attire and posture, she knows what this institution does when it replaces a woman. She opposed doing it to others. She couldn't avoid obligations that would harm her husband, children, and the institution's stability. She was stuck between 2 beliefs with no clear way out. Camilla, too. Camilla made one more plea to stop Catherine from entering the throne room, and Anne reacted with a stillness so chilly that the 2 aides at the end of the corridor studied the carpet. Camilla then asked Anne what was on the last page of her red folder in her left hand. Anne refused to tell. What Anne did in 30 seconds made every British newspaper's main page the next morning. A national broadcaster started its nightly news with that. Many gathered outside the royal gates. I want to be fair to her, because the story that makes her a villain is sloppy and wrong. Camilla told Charles the truth privately. In a recorded exchange, she said her position felt to decline whenever the younger royal entered a room. Listen to what she said, it hurts more than jealousy. No decree replaced her. No title was removed. Nothing had changed on paper. Attention shifted to Catherine. Advisors listened to Catherine more intently, and the Queen Consort could sense the future arriving in that building while she was still holding on to the present. Under her words, Charles heard fear. He knew this woman for 50 years, yet he saw the danger in her dread, and it was his first mistake. He had tried to balance devotion, marriage, and responsibility for decades, but they were now falling apart, so he comforted her. He gently advised her, and did not pledge to stop Catherine's preparation. You must understand why Charles goes quiet in rooms like that one, because he has done so in every challenging setting of his adult life. This family's last public choice between two women ended with a Westminster Abbey coffin and a nation that has never forgiven him. Nearly 30 years have been spent controlling that. Now that the option was narrower with lower stakes and nicer people, he did the only thing he knew how to do. He kept quiet and hoped it would pass. The whole tale hinges on that stillness. Camilla left that room feeling exposed and unsure of her position, which let her make a decision she would regret for months. Meanwhile, Anne began recording events. This detail reveals her entire operation. She started recording private rivalry clashing with official preparation in a handwritten journal. Delays in briefings, attempts to limit Catherine's access, dates, initials, and events. No email, no digital trail, nothing a family IT audit could find. She handwrote it like a lady who expected to be asked to prove it and expected a nasty response. Those records weren't rumors. Many of the timeline entries led to Camilla's workplace. After William found the last piece, this changed. This channel covered William's discovery in Camilla's son's car and the family's subdued response last week. Many commented with the same question. Next time he finds something, what happens? This is that video. The second time he didn't tell his father. To his aunt. He got a confidential memo from the Queen Consort requesting a delay in the throne room briefing until after a private legal assessment. Seemingly reasonable. Households routinely write such notes. Except for one feature William noticed in 4 seconds. No review was authorized by Charles. No policeman was told. There was no file. That review was fabricated to buy time. The line is that. Every reader comprehended the note immediately. A protective wife delays a briefing because her husband is sick. Delaying a briefing by citing a non-existent legal process is different. No more insecurity. This was written interference. But the point of no return came weeks earlier, during a ceremony meant to show the world a united royal family. It boiled down to one revised instruction and one swapped card. The ultimate battle started within the throne room. Under the glossy veneer of a large royal ceremonial, every movement was planned, and every position had meaning. Weeks earlier, one instruction adjustment put Catherine behind Camilla, separated her from William, and gently removed her from a Charles-assigned role. Anne saw it firsthand. Then she prepared for what was coming. Catherine expected 2 things at the Commonwealth service rehearsal: stay with William during the parade and get a sealed briefing from senior household personnel. On the second Monday of March 56th, nation's high commissioners and flag bearers gather at Westminster Abbey for a service where every position matters. Order of entry indicates position duty, and most importantly, the monarch's trust. Before arriving, photographers know the plan. They know which frame sells. An aide crossed the aisle with a new placement card minutes before rehearsal. See what it was to understand why the country reacted as it did. 4 seconds to glance at everything. Get there, we will. This was not about a room ceremony or family dispute. The folder, Camilla's forbidden page, and what was on it were the sole cause of this. You know where the subscribe button is, so hit it. Now to follow this story. Quick note before continuing. I'm Harold. I follow everything family related. Camilla's secret consent was ordered. Catherine was pulled back from her husband and behind the Queen consort, and her briefing was given to a family member. A required change according to the Queen consort's office. However, that card did more than change a ceremony. It distanced Catherine from William in the one procession that year, where the entire Commonwealth was watching, weakened her role in front of the diplomatic corps, and proved something Camilla needed to prove, mostly to herself, that Charles's responsibilities could be quietly taken back without Charles knowing. Catherine did not object. No one in that family fights in an abbey with 40 staff members. She read the card, folded it in half, put it in her handbag, and remained calm during the morning's humiliation. Anne watched her fold the card. I think that image is the key to this story, so sit with it. Anne has always observed royal duty require sacrifice, and she has done it without complaint or a video crew. She has never opposed sacrifice for the institution she understands. This was different, and she realized it immediately. No protocol precedence or necessity existed for that card. Catherine was lowered by someone else's anxiety, which had learned to write official documents. Anne moved fast. She immediately asked the aide who had ordered the alteration according to a later report for Charles. The aide hesitated, indicating that they knew there was an issue. Visual hierarchy, a real-life official's term for the public order that ranks the country, was used in Camilla's office. When employed as it was that morning, it is a neat technique to remove someone from a room while claiming to be arranging furniture, which the king had not approved. None. Not verbally in writing or through his secretary. That night, Charles read both placement cards. He examined the original and replacement, then placed them on the desk silently. The folks who work near the man will tell you that the quiet was wrath and shame, since he had personally assigned Catherine that briefing, and someone in his family had overridden his command without asking. Anne sought a confidential assessment of Catherine's 6-month duty changes. The palace never shares internal schedules, approvals, and communication traffic which were reviewed. 2 non-Camilla authorities ran it. They identified no error, misunderstanding, or schedule conflict. It was patterned. Delayed briefings, location changes, messages read by someone else before Catherine's office, persistent attempts to limit her access to senior advisors. Meeting requests were replied with "under review" when none existed. All within 6 months, pointing to one office. Anne entered a private room with documents Camilla never expected to see and demanded the Queen consort respond for each one. The door closed without aide secretaries or family nearby. Anne asked for the meeting without explaining why and arrived first. She placed the revised schedules, the original card, and replacements, the delayed briefings, the diverted messages, and the note regarding the missing legal review face up on the table. One question to Camilla: how often did she meddle with Catherine's tasks? Without the king's knowledge, Camilla defended herself. Anne didn't blink, didn't move, and didn't make excuses, because the masks were gone in that building. Camilla dismissed the papers and claimed she secured the king's stability. She claimed that Catherine's rise was too fast, while Charles remained active, vulnerable, and under immense pressure, that the household was running him too hard, that the press was counting his engagements like a countdown clock, and that competing family centers could damage his authority at the very moment he needed it most. Filings, official papers, stories buried before anyone asked questions. I'll put them together as I read them. Follow me through, because the last page concludes everything. Let me set the atmosphere, because this breakdown is the most intriguing portion. Not a spectacular event with flashing cameras. An regular weekday morning in a corridor on the first level of Buckingham Palace route, cleared no press pool nearby. giving her this much. A skilled private secretary would make that argument, and if she had written it to the king, it might have won. She created it after the fact, to explain months of revisions she had never reported regarding a legal review she concocted. Anne told her it was the difference between an argument and a cover story. Anne's controlled rage was worse than shouting. Protecting Charles did not necessitate embarrassing another woman in an abbey or impeding his allowed tasks. She then said what Camilla couldn't answer, because it was true, and cost Anne nothing to express. Princess Royal never wanted to be queen or move closer to the throne. She gained nothing from that chat. Nothing but the survival of a system she served her whole life. That gave her the power in that room. Camilla finally succumbed. Everything I find doesn't cause tears. In depth. She requested a postponement of the throne room meeting in a taped conversation. Then she explained why. It made me sit back in my chair when I initially put it together. Catherine would not enter the room for introductions. She was supposed to get a confidential continuity plan describing who takes over crucial duties if the monarch becomes unwell. The younger royal would be briefed on decisions Camilla had always thought belonged to Charles and his inner group. Camilla attended that briefing. She knew what was within. She knew what it meant when others knew. I must state that this next section is my interpretation of her thoughts, not anyone else's. But watch what she does afterward. Her actions convey more than words. Camilla did not challenge a ceremony. She was trying to keep her one advantage, being the only woman in the family who knew the plan from being transferred. Anne paused after confessing. She provided Camilla's unfinished half. The king knew. He read the request. He knew what was within. He rejected it flatly. He ordered his sister to rush Catherine into the throne room before another day. Nothing, no household office, private appeal, or emotional warning would change that order now. Camilla gently stood up. She delivered one last caution before leaving. That's the story's nearest threat. Anne may manage the entryway, she said. Her true choice was not hers. That red folder held it under the final page, and a signature neither of them could dispute. Indeed, she was right. She had no idea she was right, because days earlier, Charles had been sitting alone with the crimson folder open, reading the same line 3 times and not signing anything. I want to slow down because everyone wants Charles to be the villain or the hero. Honestly, he is neither. He started this whole thing by avoiding a difficult confrontation with his wife. He also had to solve it with a pen, knowing the expense. The choice before him was not about love revenge or replacing a lady. The monarchy's continuity machinery, while the sovereign is unwell or absent, was an issue. British people ignored that machinery for decades until it stopped being theoretical. 2 things made it real. On his birthday, in November 2022, Charles wrote to the House of Lords to expand the tiny circle of those legally entitled to stand in for him, according to the BBC. Anne and Edward were added to that bill in weeks. In February 2024, Buckingham Palace declared the king had cancer. Every abstract concern about who intervenes and who knows what became a household issue. It survived. The document Charles saw that night had a dry title. Royal Continuity Directive. Performs one task. It outlines who receives critical briefings and who performs certain tasks if the king cannot act. So nobody wastes the first day of a national emergency squabbling about authority. Catherine's inclusion didn't make her sovereign. It did not give her a title signature or legal power, nor did it move her in the succession. It only prepared her for obligations she will share with William. Charlie laid his hand beside the last page and did not sign it. William entered while he sat. Because that space was vulnerable, he selected every word carefully. Catherine never requested to replace Camilla or be used as a symbol against her, he told his father. As always, his wife would bring whatever the institution needed. 3 names on the move sheet. Anne Catherine, a senior private secretary with nothing. Camilla wasn't listed. Anyway, she came. She arrived with 20 feet of corridor and requested a delay, not a cancellation. And that detail is important because it shows she realized she lost the broader fight. He then placed the issue where his father could not avoid it. Catherine cannot defend the monarchy without information. Before a catastrophe, they must prepare for their offspring, future reign, and crown stability. You know why William thinks that way. He buttoned a dark suit and marched behind his mother's coffin through London at 15 years old as the world watched. That week, a boy learned something his father never did. The institution will let you experience your worst day unprepared, film it, and never inquire if anyone got you ready. He would not let that happen to his wife. Charles felt both women's weight as he gazed down at the document. That page never had neutral instructions for Camilla. She would get written rejection from the husband she had fought for 18 years to marry. If he refused to sign, Catherine would suffer too. She would see that private fear can obstruct duty in this family, even when the institution's survival requires clarity. Finally, the monarch took the pen. His signature authorized Catherine's briefing immediately without wait. The second directive was much stronger than the first, making that corridor scene unavoidable. It authorized Anne to immediately enforce the meeting, not recommending it, do not attend, to enforce. The decision was now his sister's, so no private office, emotional appeal, or last-minute request could override her, because standing in front of Anne meant standing in front of the king. Consider what Charles Reed's choice says about his wife. She did not get a letter telling her to cease. He appointed someone to stop her. He turned to the last page. Camilla feared that page for days. She was right, it was the only part of the text written about her. It ordered Catherine's duties to be freed from interference immediately. Any changes to her schedule, ceremonial place, or access to senior advisors after signature would require the monarch's written consent. Written, not a call, not an office note. No Abbey Aid-taught sentence on necessary adjustment. One word ended the secret path. Every move Camilla made in those 6 months went that way. Verbal orders, office approvals, a card given to an aide 8 minutes before rehearsal. Because it had never required the king's signature, it worked. Charles sealed that road in one sentence. William saw his father set down the pen and knew what changed. After months of handling the problem, the king took action. There was no relief for anyone, because elsewhere in that building, his wife was going to hear that the man she had trusted for 50 years had preserved the monarchy without telling her. The ink hardly dried when it reached her. Camilla heard the news in a secluded sitting room, where an attendant placed the directive with a cup of tea she never touched. One final page was read. She read again. After taking off her glasses, she asked if Charles had approved every sentence. It was a subtle but ruthless response. He did. In that moment, the throne room doors became more than polished wood. They marked the line between her adult life influence and her inability to wield it. She mentioned time was off. She stated the nation was watching the king's health and calculating the days between his engagements, and walking the Princess of Wales into that room that week would not appear like preparation. It would resemble replacement. Camilla said that. Replacement. The future queen said nothing while standing beside them. Consider Catherine's location. Woman appealing for her humiliation to be delayed, and woman about to make it permanent. No folder notes or title earned her entry to that chamber. Every extra second on that carpet made her the center of a conflict she never asked to lead. Anne remained firm, not a fraction. She informed the queen consort that she no longer owned this decision. Not to her pride, fear, or household. The briefing had been approved by a secret royal council, a tiny group of senior family members and advisors who covertly prepare the monarchy for unpopular decisions. Catherine entered because her duties alongside William now require her to keep knowledge previously reserved for the monarch and his closest allies. Anne terminated the conversation with that sentence. Charles personally signed the instruction. One fact changed everything in that corridor. The king's edict allowed Catherine direct access to the planning that keeps the crown working amid illness crisis, or any time the wearer cannot do the job. Camilla was hurt by the comments, not the access.